Welcome back to episode 4 of our van build, and today we're starting off in the basement. Now that the wooden floor panel is insulated and the vinyl with the wood pattern is glued down, I want to add an aluminium edge to the sliding door and the rear doors. I just bought an aluminium L profile, which I'll cut to size and glue to the floor with a strong polymer adhesive. Just a quick sand to smooth the sharp edges, and then we can test fit it on the van. Before fixing it in place, I want to make sure it actually fits. I also want it in a different colour, so later we'll give it a nice matte finish with some black car spray. That should blend in nicely with the rest of the interior. Don't mind my chickens, they like a bit of activity around their coop. They've been watching this van build very closely, and ever since they've started laying bigger eggs. No comments on my technique, please. I'm a total newbie at this. My graffiti plans are still a work in progress. Meanwhile, it was time to loosen and remove the other panels in the van's cargo area. I'll definitely reuse them later. But first I needed to remove the power socket that the previous owner had installed. And once the L profiles were dry, I could glue them neatly onto the floor. Looks tidy, I'm quite happy with that. And same process in the back. And finally, a bit of tape to make sure it stays in place and the glue can dry properly. Another job done. Now we can focus on the van's walls again. Everything actually looks pretty neat. I bought some sound deadening material online. It's meant to reduce the vibrations coming through the side panels. The material feels a bit like thick adhesive tape, with silver foil on one side and a really sticky layer on the other. You don't need to cover every bit of the wall with it. From what I saw online, covering about 60% of each panel should be enough to get the desired effect. You probably can't hear the difference that well in the video, but the sound change is actually quite significant. Don't forget to press it down firmly to azimuth. A small roller can definitely help with that. A simple job if you ask me, but one that makes a big difference. I bought plenty of it so I can cover all the panels without any worries. This product is easy to cut to size with a pair of scissors for the smaller panels. Later on, I'll go over everything again with a small roller to press it down properly. By the way, a quick tip. Make sure to degrease your metal panels before you start. That way you're sure everything sticks well. Don't forget to do the wheel arches and the roof of the van in the same way. I'm leaving the doors for now. I'll do those later when I start insulating them. The result is impressive. The panels resonate much less and now sound quite dull when I tap on them. Definitely a recommendation for anyone working on a van. Time for the next step. Before I start insulating the van, I want to run some cables to all corners of the cargo area. I've decided to route the 12-volt wiring along the top inside conduit tubes. I ordered a good mix of 2.5mm and 4mm FLRYB cables. This type is perfect for setups with lots of movement, vibration and bending. They can also handle temperatures from -40 to 105 degrees Celsius. That's about -40 to 221 degrees Fahrenheit. They're very flexible too, thanks to the use of more thinner copper strands. I'm assuming all the electrics will come from the left side, so I've brought all my cables together down on the left. That's where the fuse box will go later on. On the right side of the van, I'll place everything related to water. It seems like a good layout, and I've seen other van builders use the same basic setup. The advantage of using conduit tubes is that later on, once the van is finished and everything's hidden behind the walls, you can still replace or add cables if needed. A good tip here is to label everything properly, so you'll still know later on which cable goes where. Also, since I'll be working with a switch panel, I've made sure to run an extra negative 4mm cable to the front. That way I can later add a bus bar there, so I won't have to run all the negative cables back to the fuse box every time. Luckily, Lara came to the rescue and helped me pull the cables through the conduit tubes. To be honest, it was one of those simple jobs that somehow ended up taking way longer than expected. Luckily, there were two of us to get it done because the frustration levels went up a few times, especially when the cable came loose from the pull wire inside the conduit. But in the end, all the wiring was in place and we could finally start insulating the van. I went with Armaflex for the insulation, mostly because just about every van build video online seems to recommend it. It's a German-made, flexible rubber insulation that's great at reducing heat loss and preventing condensation. For the flat panels, I used 19mm Armaflex, and I also picked up some 6mm sheets and a roll of 5mm Armaflex tape. It's a really sticky material, easy to cut, and it sticks well, sometimes a bit too well, especially to your fingers. Later on, you'll see that I also experimented with K-Flex, the Italian alternative, which is a bit cheaper, but I still prefer Armaflex overall. It's quite a precise job, especially when you're trying to cover every bit of metal panel. A quick tip: watch your fingers. The metal edges in your van can be surprisingly sharp, and if you're as clumsy as I am, little accidents can happen pretty quickly. Press everything down firmly so there are no air bubbles left between the metal panels and the Armaflex. Since I like a bit of variety in my work, I combined the insulation job with a few tweaks on the roof of the van. My nice T-rack, where I'll later mount the solar panels, came with an aluminium walkway. But that walkway was in the way of my MaxxFan, so I had no choice but to drill out the rivets and temporarily remove one of the supports to make enough room for the fan. I'm setting the aluminium walkways aside for now. I'll definitely reuse them later. I might even be able to fit part of the walkway back in place afterwards. Now you can see the modifications a bit more clearly. The areas with some green residue are where the walkways used to sit, and you can see I've now created more space to install the MaxxFan. The roof was a bit trickier to do, but thanks to the strong adhesive on the Armaflex, it all went on just fine in the end. Did I already mention that it's best to degrease all the panels beforehand? If not, well, now you know. I'm holding off on applying Armaflex where the MaxxFan will go. I'll do that once the fan is installed. I also did the wheel arches. I started with a long strip across the top and then added a big piece on the side. Using a knife, I trimmed around the edges where needed to make sure everything was nicely covered. So, insulation pretty much done. Time to drop the van off at the installer for the MaxxFan, the CE socket, and an extra window in the rear door. Why am I not doing this myself? Well, simple. Unlike in some other countries, here the government makes it quite complicated to cut into a van's bodywork. You need all sorts of inspection documents and certificates just to pass the annual vehicle check. And since there's a great installer just around the corner from where I live, with very reasonable prices too, the choice was easy. I ordered the materials, and he did what he does best. But you'll see all that in the next episode of our van build. If you liked what you saw, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'm always curious to hear your thoughts, so drop them in the comments. See you later.